Hi everyone, thank you for looking at our resources on active engagement strategies. My name is Analea Brauberger and I work in the TLC as a Teaching and Learning Center Associate at the South Campus. You can find me at analea.brauberger@seattlecolleges.edu, and I will show you that in just a minute so you know how to spell it. I want to start off with a short video just introducing you to the resources that you have available to you on the website. One of the very first things is the information from the University of Minnesota on active learning. This is from their Teaching and Learning Center, and I think that they really hit the nail right on the head with talking about what active learning is. Active learning is simply engaging your student and asking them to not just sit there and listen to your lecture and maybe record notes, but then to do something with that information. So the way that this website breaks it down, and I really like this, is you're asking students to talk and listen, to write, to read, and to reflect. You can ask them to do that in a million different ways, and we're providing that with our engagement strategies. The background that I come from is not only university and college education, but secondary ed. So I'm certified here in the state of Washington and in the state of Louisiana to teach at the high school level and the middle school. And I'm sure you can imagine why we need active engagement strategies with younger students, because we need to keep their attention. And it's not so much in college that you want to keep their attention, but you want to help them with retention. And so that's why we like to use active learning strategies. Think of a time where you've ever asked students to raise their hand if. That's not super engaging, but it's part of active learning. You're asking them to participate and to outwardly demonstrate that they belong to a category. You might ask students sometimes when they're doing work to put up fingers on their hand for how many more minutes they need. They're giving you feedback. So those are two simple strategies that aren't necessarily engagement strategies, but it's a part of active learning. So we might ask individual activities, or we might pair activities, pair people in groups. We might start some informal small groups, and then you might actually have some cooperative learning student projects. I like this website because it asks a bunch of questions for you to prepare in order to know which type of engagement strategy you want to use. So for example, what are your objectives for the activity? If your objective doesn't really involve any type of interaction, then that's not a day that you would want to be using that type of strategy. But I do ask that you consider having students engage with one another with the material. It really does help them drive that information home. I'm only pointing out this one resource, sort of not really in depth, but just as an introduction to active learning. I know that you can look up this stuff on your own, and I wanted to provide just a nice introduction video. I think this website is super useful because it gives you basic active learning strategies. It describes all of these strategies in detail and tells you how you can use them. Gives you some recommendations for making this work. And then it gives you some scenes or scenarios when kind of what you might face if active learning is not your student's favorite thing to do. So for example, my students don't want active learning. Well, this website sort of gives you strategies to deal with that scenario. I want to go to the resource that I've provided. This, of course, is a shared and ongoing and potentially changing resource. I won't take away information, but I might add. And what is active learning is sort of answered here. This is the website that you were just looking at, which is the University of Minnesota. All of the rest of the resources just provide more examples of strategies that you can use in your classroom, and the more that you stare at, the more that a few will really resonate to you that you might be interested in. I also want to point out this here, total participation techniques. I have a CS attached adaptation. That's one of the other resources that Carrie Schroyer has provided to you. It gives these different strategies broken down and kind of helps you understand how you might use them in your classroom. These were broken down by a colleague of mine at Mercer Island Middle School, or Islander Middle School on Mercer Island. So I give her credit for putting them into user-friendly language for us. If you have any more resources that you want to add to this, please do feel free to email me so that we can add to those resources. Emailing me, as you can see my name here, it'll be analea.brauberger@seattlecolleges.edu. I find that as I use more and more engagement strategies with my students here on campus, they just enjoy the process more, and they're able to teach each other in their own way, so in vocabulary that they use, and drive it home with examples that they're used to, and then stretch each other a little bit. When one student really has it figured out, oftentimes that's more motivating for other students to do the reading or engage more with the activity or whatever it might be. Once again, my name is Analea Brauberger. You can find me in the TLC on the South Campus. Thank you so much for looking at our resources. I hope that you find them useful.